Hello, communicators. Welcome to episode 4 of the audio series, The Communicator. I'm your host, Yesenia Reinoso, and let's enter into the world of corporate communications from an in-house lens. If you are new to the show or a general member, here's a hello for you, but more importantly, hit those follow, share, and subscribe buttons as we are not only creating and amplifying this platform, but we are also building a community, a family where public relations professionals can come in to learn and educate and also capture new techniques about the ins and outs of corporate communications. If you are an avid social media individual, I am available across LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. All of my social media handles will be listed in the episode description and in the comments section below. Have a question, comment, suggestion, or anything that pops up into your mind? Send me an email. My email address will be listed again in the episode description and in the comments section. And finally, if you have not gotten the chance to listen to the previous 3 episodes, and believe me, you want to because they are super amazing and informative, what are you waiting for? You have the chance to go hear them exclusively on YouTube and Spotify. All new episodes of The Communicator, including this one, will be debuting every first and third Mondays of the month on both YouTube and Spotify. Now that we got those housekeeping notes out of the way, I want to welcome all of you, whether you are here in the US or anywhere around the world, to The Communicator. And before we dive into today's topic, I want to give all of you a scheduling housekeeping update. As you all know, for the month of July, my schedule is going to be pretty jam-packed. Reason being is because I'm going away on vacation and on a business trip. Therefore, the recording dates and as well as distribution dates I wanted to add for both episodes number 5 and 6 are going to be pushed back by a week. Therefore, grab those markers and circle these brand new scheduling and publishing dates on the calendar. Episode number 5 of The Communicator will be debuting on YouTube and Spotify on Monday, July 24th, and episode 6 of The Communicator will be debuting on Monday, August 7th. Again, Monday, July 24th, episode number 5. Monday, August 7th, episode number 6. And if you happen to have any questions or concerns regarding the episodes, or if there is a particular topic that you want me to discuss in either of those episodes, feel free to email me. Woo! Now that we got officially all of the housekeeping details out of the way, let's dive into episode number 4. Now, if you haven't gotten the chance to hear episode number 3, I highly recommend you to do so. It really talks about the foundation of how to build your corporate communications department from the ground up. As I like to call it, the basics, the key ingredients that you need to build your structure to set it up for success. And now that you have your foundation in play, now we focus on the next important step in the process, which is the budget. Ching ching. Having a cohesive budget is going to be critically important as you try to further emphasize and implement important communications policies, practices, campaigns, initiatives, or any other major goals that your department and or organization wants to publish across a wide variety of channels to either a single person or a small, large audience. And so with that, we are going to be diving into today's topic, budget. So let's communicate about budget, shall we? All right. And now that we are going to be focusing on good old Ben Franklin, aka the $100 bill, aka money, I think it is all safe to say that regardless of any industry sector that you are working in, money really is a critical contributor to ensuring that any goals that you're trying to define is going to generate engagement, awareness, leads, or promotion. And so having a communications budget that represents the sums of tools, programs, and people involved in the growth of the business through communications. And how the company talks about its brands and services. In other words, it's through the media and messaging from the company to the market or the intended target audience. This could be brand awareness, public relations, advertising, external events, etc. I also want to point out is that depending as to the size of the organization that you're working, there are there are some that are large corporations that have either a big or an unlimited amount of budget flexibility. So that way they can obtain the most tools and resources possible in order for them to create and amplify whatever plans that they have. Now, if you're working for a medium or small scale organization, depending as to the amount of money that you have, the budget can be a lot tighter or non-existent. And so organizations will have to, especially those organizations who have an extremely limited or no budget, will have to be very creative in terms of adaptability and flexibility, which we will talk about those two key points later on how they can maneuver in order to maximize the organization's results. Sometimes companies really have to amplify their best attributes and assets in order to obtain the results that they are seeking. And so the different types of communications budgets when you and your team sit down and converse the options can range from research and development, advertising, PR, and promotions. Now, all of this sounds really nice, but it leads to the most important question that we as PR pros definitely want to ask: the why. Why do you need a communications budget? It's similar to why do you need a communications plan, whether it's monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Having a plan uh, pretty in full details will properly describe the goals and the objectives that you want to achieve for the year for your department. Similar to having a communications budget, you want to ensure that whatever you list, whether it's in a Word document or an Excel sheet, you want to ensure that you list all of the important factors that you're going to be utilizing in order to build a cohesive message that is going to connect with the audiences that you're seeking. But also at the same time, utilizing a budget can definitely contribute to your thought leadership efforts in terms of establishing any kind of brand credibility. Now, you might be thinking, does having a communications budget seem counterintuitive? Of course not. The key thing to remember is communications is accessible. Communications is accessibility. Emails, messages, newsletters, social media, and traditional media outlets, any kind of communication through these platforms requires money. Now, not all budgets are created equal. As I just mentioned, depending as to the organization that you are working for and how senior leadership team members allocate those funds the best way possible. Depending on the plan, the communication goals, as well as the allocation, you need to put money towards the things that contribute most to your growth. Your communications plan should already include a list of priorities, the channels, so that way it will be easy for you to build that budget with your communications plan as a guide. Having both the budget and the communications plan together simultaneously will help you build your entire structure for the annual year. Having a communications plan details how and when you want to communicate with key audience members. It includes who is involved in the project, the frequency of the communications, and establish timelines. Having a communications budget will be a crucial point of reference throughout the year, or depending as to how your organization operates, could be monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, etc. If your company is experiencing any kind of hardship, you will need a completely different budget visibility to determine where you can lean and allocate the best funds possible. And again, this goes right back to the importance of adaptability, which we will discuss later on. Now that we talked about why you need to have a communications budget and the ways as to how you need to track the budget in real time, which is why it's important to have a managerial tool, now we have to focus on the components of the communications budget. You have to consider a variety of them as you try to figure out the best way to allocate your resources for your communications activities. So, every organization has a different roadmap as to the kinds of components that they want to add for their budget. Some might need everything, others might need one or two things. It just depends as to the expectations as a department and eventually as an organization you want to set forth. But some of these general components that I recommend to you are a good guide map for you to start. And again, all of them can be interchangeable. It all depends as to what is your preference. But my suggestions in terms of components for what you want to have for a communications budget includes goals and objectives, the target audience, communications channels, the creative production, media buying and placement, PR and influencer marketing, digital/email marketing, technology, internal communications, measurement and analytics, and finally, contingency. Now, when you have all of these specific allocations, again, depending as to your preference of your budget and as well as your organizational philosophy, which could include the size, the sector, target audience, and the overall marketing plan, having set regular reviews and adjusting your budget based on performance and involving the needs to optimize your communications efforts, you're going to have a much easier way to identify what has worked in your communications messaging and what needs to be tweaked. And so when you work with a flexible budget and adaptable to changes in your environment, the market trends, and emerging communications, you want to be monitoring that effectiveness and be prepared to adjust whenever evolving needs or into opportunities. The communications industry is constantly evolving, and so having the flexibility from a budget standpoint to be able to reallocate resources and as well as creating a contingency plan in case if something falls through, always having a plan B. It's always good to have in the back pocket. And so when you are creating that communications budget, there are several steps to ensure that you allocate those resources effectively and as well as efficiently. So that will be including having a clear mindset for your goals, identifying the target audience, assessing the previous budget and its performance, research and benchmarks, the communications channels, which one are the best ones to identify and target, estimating costs, prioritizing and allocating the budget, setting up a contingency fund, review and refine all data, and monitor and measure any kind of statistics that will assess the return of investment or an ROI for short. So, the reason why businesses should have a communications budget set in place are the following. So, I offer 8 reasons why. Number 1 is the strategic allocation of resources. A communications budget that allows businesses to strategically allocate, resources to various communications departments. It certainly helps when you prioritize and determine the most effective communications channels as well as tactics to reach audience, maximize the impact, and overall communications efforts. Number two is goal alignment. Having a budget that ensures communications activities aligned with the overall goals and objectives, allocating the resources based on specific purposes such as brand awareness, sales, improving customer service. Companies can ensure that those communications efforts contribute directly to those goals. Number three, cost control and efficiency. A budget that provides a better cost control and enables businesses to allocate those resources efficiently. When you set up specific budgets for different communications channels and activities, organizations can manage the expenses, expectations, avoid any kind of overspending, and optimize their ROI. Number four, measure and evaluate. A communications budget that allows businesses to measure and evaluate the effectiveness of their communications activities. It allocates resources for measurement tools, analytic software, data analysis, and other important tools. Companies can then track their communications efforts performances, identify those improvement areas, and make well-informed decisions for future budget allocations. Number five, we talked about this during the earlier parts of the show, and now we're going to focus on this part a little bit more, which is adaptability and flexibility. Point number five. A budget that allows businesses to adapt and respond to changes in business environments or market conditions. It allows for flexibility in the reallocation of resources when specific communications channels or tactics do not deliver the desired results or new opportunities arise. Whether it's for good or for bad, it's really important for all organizations to have a plan B in place. You never know what's going to happen. And so being adaptable and flexible whenever a situation arises, you want to make sure that all of your monetary and as well as your organizational tactics are restructured and redistributed to another avenue, so that way any kind of communications initiatives that might have been disrupted can continue on without any issue. Number six, consistency and brand image. A communications budget that helps ensure consistency in overall messaging, branding, and the organization's brand identity. It allows for planned and coordinated communications efforts across different types of channels to ensure that the brand is properly portrayed consistently and effectively to the target audience or audiences. Number seven, competitive advantage. Effective communications is critical for gaining a competitive edge in the market. With having a dedicated communications budget, businesses can invest in activities that differentiate them from competitors, build brand reputation, and effectively communicate their unique value proposition to customers. And finally, number eight, which is stakeholder engagement, but I'll probably will switch it up a little bit and say audience engagement. A communications budget that enables businesses to engage and build relationships with either a combination of various stakeholders, customers, employees, investors, media, the community, well, I just mentioned employees, so apologies there. But either way, communicating with both internal and external audiences, it allows for targeted communications initiatives that will address each stakeholder's group's specific needs and interests. And as we all know, when it comes to developing brand or organizational loyalty, brands really like it when they develop a story that is exactly in their voice or tone, that directly makes an immediate connection with them. And as long as you establish that connection and you find them and you nurture that connection, those individuals will eventually become part of your core audience. And so a brand loyalty line has been established. And so having a communications budget is essential for businesses to strategically allocate resources, align communications efforts with business goals, cost, measurement effectiveness, adaptability to change within any kind of circumstance, consistency, obtaining a competitive advantage, and engaging different types of audiences effectively It is very much a vital tool for the optimization of communications activities and driving business success. And so everybody has their ways in terms as to what is best when it comes to budget allocation. I know throughout my corporate career, I have seen and worked alongside senior executives in the creation and the eventual implementation of a communications budget where a lot of different factors are taken into consideration when they not only analyze the current but the current in-year budget, but they also look back at the performances and the budgets of how things were spent in the last year, and then they do a forecast, sometimes roughly about 3 to 5 years. But again, it's up to the organization to see as to how much resources and monetary funds are going to be utilized in order to continue driving communications efforts. And so, obviously, just having some sort of budget is going to be beneficial in maximizing ROI. But there's also going to be moments where organizations are simply not going to have the proper monetary resources in order to distribute any kind of communications messaging. But that's where they're going to have to be really creative. And I am hoping that I will have the opportunity to talk about that at a future show. We're definitely going to. So we'll scratch out the word hope and just say that we are planning to talk about but creative budget flexibility in a future show, and as well as much more in-depth analysis as to the tools and the resources that organizations can use to better generate their performance, in other ways that the budget can be utilized to achieve the organizational results. And so with that, that wraps up episode number 4 of the Communicator. Pretty much you can say that this is budget one-on-one, but I like to give my audience members an opportunity to get at least a general overview before we dive into more in-depth specific parts of not only budgeting but other core corporate communications areas that everybody can very much be interested and invested in. And so with that, that wraps up episode number 4. This episode, as well as the other 3 episodes beforehand, available on YouTube and Spotify. Don't forget, episodes number 5 and 6 will debut on both of those avenues on 7/24 and 8/7 respectively. And I cannot wait to see all of you again for episode number 5 of the Communicator. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Your support means the absolute world. Thanks for being a part of this journey, for being a part of this community, and I very much look forward to seeing and speaking to all of you again about another corporate comms topic. So until then, everyone, have a good day, and till the next round.